Rated M for mature.
Thank God it's Friday.
I like the first Friday. I grew up watching it, which, looking at my slate now, I know I'll be saying about a lot of the stuff that we watch. But it's true. Couldn't really get around it being a black kid. It's kind of rooted in culture. It stands on its own as well. I mean, it's not high art, but that's not really what it's trying to be. It's a movie you can kick back and watch on, well, a Friday afternoon, whether it be by yourself or a group of friends, even with family. It's quotable, it's funny, and there's a charm to it being about a regular day in the West Coast, even if I am based in the East. Though I have more criticism than merit, I'd say it's an okay movie. I'll even admit the bias. Fuck it.
And you know this, man!
So why ain't the video over right here? Well, long story short, they didn't just make one Friday like it should have been. They made 2 more. In the show, but nobody cares about that.
I'm tired of your mother complaining she can't see the forest for the trees.
Y'all remember it being too bad, right? Man, Ice Cube should have stuck to writing music. The first Friday was directed by F. Gary Gray. Recently, he directed Straight Outta Compton, which, if we're being honest, is a generic biopic movie held up by his performances. And Fate of the Furious. Can't really say it was the best, but it's a movie that wasn't really trying to be anything special, much like the first Friday, and knew exactly what it was and who it was for. But Next Friday was directed by Steve Carr, who did...
Wait a minute, Pooh, stop this shit. What the fuck I'm thinking about?
I'm doing research on this man, you know, for his filmography. I had the part written in the script about like how like, you know, oh, he's a bad director, here's like listing all his bad filmography or whatever. Gonna stand by that. I watched movie 43, his segment on it, and it put me in a really bad mood.
I love you. All of this was for me. So, it's so beautiful.
And then like I look up his IMDb, come to find out, this dude did the Hard Knock Life music video and Symphony 2000. I like those videos. Like, he's still a bad director, like I said, I'm gonna stand by that, but like, I like those videos. I gotta get a man props. I kind of feel bad after looking that up. Why'd I stop the whole video for this? Yeah, I see the problem here. No, officer, hey! Alright, so are we done yet? Sequel to, are we there yet? And then this movie. This was a dark era in Ice Cube's career. See, when he started out with N.W.A, him in a group with these more hardcore, edgy artists pioneering the genre of gangster rap. And he even starred in films in the same light as the first Friday, i.e. Boys in the Hood.
Shut up, bitch.
Then after this certain dark era, as far as I know, he got back to his roots in his music. But in said dark era, this was Hollywood Ice Cube. He started his own production company just to produce the series. It wasn't credited in the first, but it was highlighted in the second and the third.
Cube Vision Production, man. This shit gonna be off the hook, nigga. Puff it up your nose,
Nigga, what the f? A lot of the movies that he starred in, well, they was funny, man. Torque?
I thought sushi came from Japan.
No, where sushi come from, nigga? Ghost of Mars?
Damn, girl. I like you already.
Oh shit, I gotta give him a point for that one. Debo punches the shit out of Debbie in the first Friday too, so like I gotta do the thing. Triple X, bro, State of the Union.
You're not going nowhere.
Neither are you.
Oh! Man, he got a lot of these. Man, Barbershop? Eve? With the apple?
Who drank my apple juice? I put a big ass red sign.
Stop cussing. Tell him, man.
I put a big red sign.
He was doing nothing but starring in really formulaic, badly written, or underwhelming slop. Mostly influenced by, well, him. My guess is it was a turn of the era and what was popular then. His music wasn't safe either. It was not only a result of the change in lifestyle due to his artistic expression. He was rapping about shooting guns and doing gang activity, but he couldn't talk about that no more because he wasn't doing that no more. You know what I mean? By having to conform to the times of that culture as well, mostly due to the faults of the music industry itself. A lot of his colleagues did the same thing. This isn't a diss on him. He definitely didn't shy away from the messages he originally wanted to spread. And I understand the circumstances, as said by a friend of his.
How would you feel if niggas wanted you killed? You probably moved with new house on the and choose a new spot if niggas want a new shot.
But if not a main factor, it is a factor as to why I think the sequels turned out the way they did. Which, yeah, let's stop wasting time.
I heard payback's a motherfucking.
So a thing about early 2000s rapid comedies, or comedy movies that star rappers in general, is that they kind of waste time a lot. Movies like How High, which I actually kind of enjoy, The Wash, and even Mac and Devin Go to High School.
You guys about to lose right now.
Hey, watch this, watch this. Wait, hold up. No. For real? And she tooted and pooted.
They have a general story and then the script is kind of whatever the writers think is funny, which ends up being an hour and a half of unrelated scenes put together. Let me put it in a way that makes my point a little bit less redundant. It's a bunch of elementary school level jokes and scenarios joint that a bunch of black middle-aged uncles get together and reference in a barbershop or a cookout and cackle at. It's funny because he was in barbershop. The story is limited to a log line and then the script is written or improvised as they film it. Like the writer's strike, but it's out of laziness and not a protest. The first half-hour takes time explaining things about all new characters or ones that are gone because the actors didn't care for a sequel. Well, shit, one wasn't exactly given the time to care for it.
Better watch your window, you climbing that fool, before you get blasted on.
With what? You ain't got nothing, man?
With this.
Then it realizes it has a conflict just to wrap it up. It's just scenes of people talking about nothing. Then on top of that, there's this unnecessary narration that inconsistently shows up. The original had unneeded narration too, but no, it was unnecessary there too. It couldn't make up its mind regarding whether or not it wanted to be Craig's situational thoughts regarding the plot or like his inner thoughts just in general.
For some reason, I don't think Smokey wanted to go in there. But peer pressure's a motherfucker. Hurry up. Shit.
Hurry up. You pick everything up. Pick it up.
Oh, shit.
But like the problem here is, one, it's an excuse for a staple. It's like the first one did it, so now we have to do it. Two, it apparently just has narcolepsy and has to like catch up with itself when it comes back. It's like, we were narrating. Oh, hey, I don't know where we were. Ice Cube, say something to the mic. Good Cube, nice, let's keep it rolling, yeah.
That's right.
I think it's just the fact that it knows it's a useless sequel and it has to cover its ass. But it doesn't do anything clever with it, like 22 Jump Street.
Can't believe the Koreans bought their church back.
Yeah, I mean, good thing there was an even bigger abandoned church directly across the street.
Yeah, that's convenient.
Yes, it is convenient.
To be completely fair, you can say that the first one also spends time doing a lot of nothing either, but that's kind of what it's about. It was centered around a normal day dealing with normal people and normal problems. What's going on in your usual day? What, you wake up, get bored, hang out with your friends, the occasional crazy thing might happen every once in a while, but other than that, you just living life. And the film was about Craig living life.
When something happens in South Central Los Angeles, nothing happens. It's just another nigga dead. You don't know, baby D. You don't know, that's why you looking at me, because you don't know, baby D. Her fat ass be snoring and don't even be asleep, just stand there.
Hey, Kev, you mind if I see those for a minute? For why? I can't seem to, find the joke. That dude right there, he a comedian.
Ain't nobody talking when I'm talking, fellas, so shut the fuck up.
I knew the fuck are you.
Alright, let me set the scenario. It's a test screening going on for the movie. It goes from beginning to end, straight through, whole duration. You get a slight breath, you get a cough, and vaguely get a chuckle. Ice Cube's not amused, and Mike Epps isn't even amused. As the lights in the theater start to come up and the speakers start to fade out, all you hear in the background is Steve Carr cackling, coughing out laughs. He is it. He is the only one. There is no jokes. There is no setup, ain't no curiosity, definitely ain't no punchlines. A thing I failed to mention in the last segment is that this movie basically doesn't have a story. There is no why as to why these characters are doing whatever they're doing throughout the entire duration. Like I said, it remembers to have a story, and then it tries to scrap everything up at the last minute. The jokes are in the story. The story is not in the jokes. That should be common knowledge with any comedy. It can be done, but it takes a lot of time. And it takes a lot of effort. But because this movie has an infatuation with wasting time, and because it mistakes its jokes for story, it wastes so much time.
Shut up!
Like,
Before I bust a
God
cap up in your ass.
damn.
Now what you done done with
It's
Day
so fucking slow. It's just scene after scene of these drawn out and long conversations that have no comedic value whatsoever. Like,
Nobody said
I'm not even trying to be along with the scene right now. Like, just shut the fuck up. Like, I don't care. Like, it keeps going.
Nigga, calm down. It's just a movie.
Obviously, I get that, but like, you get what I'm saying. It constantly sets up these wacky scenarios that try to shock you. Like, oh, isn't that crazy? Oh, that's nasty. Oh, that's so me. Oh, isn't that so funny that the Asian lady sells day weed? That's unexpected. Joker wears a thong. Isn't that crazy? Instead, it's just repetitive shit. I don't want to see Ice Cube get sexually harassed by his step-on. You wrote this, Cube. You wanted this. You the one that wanted to be violated by Kim Wheatley. Nobody else told you to. I don't blame you, but this is all on you. The only, like, somewhat compliment I can give is Mike Epps. He admittedly gives it some entertainment value. I think most of the time he just showed up on set and improvised all his dialogue based off whatever anyone said and only had a vague idea of the explaining that he had to do. This was his first big role too, as far as I know. In his audition tapes, you can definitely see him and Ice Cube just chopping it up.
I got this sister named Baby D. Nigga, I am telling you, look, this bitch said do hair and babysit at the same crib. The police done had us prevent us for about 2 months.
So, you know, good on him. The writing itself doesn't really have anything to do with that, unfortunately, but he's a talented enough comedian to the point where he can hold it up. That and his penis, because he gets a woman pregnant in this movie. Other than that, nothing's really gonna bust your gut in this movie. Speaking of busting guts, and when I say busting guts, I mean busting nuts. I'm sorry, I really am. Now, I'm no man against seeing attractive women on screen. I'm a lesbian. I love women. But the movie is dependent on it, much like a lot of other things in it. Since there's no focus on a coherent plot, it feels like it has to throw some form of keys or glitter at you so it can keep your attention. The glitter part, I'm pretty sure is literal. Except the keys are an early 2000s glamour model. Let me put something in perspective here. Remember when Biggie said money and blood don't mix like two dicks? Well, they do, because rappers and women in this era went together just like that. And the dicks too, just for the fuck of it. Man, that was a terrible analogy.
With them dicks too, nigga. Yeah.
Unacceptable in today's society? Absolutely. With how they were portrayed and what they were limited to, and I'm not saying that I condone it. As much of a sexual being that I am by nature, I cannot say that I condone it. But it was so ingrained into the culture at the time that it's really hard to separate the thought of a rap music video without some fat asses. I mean, look at the Tip Drill music video. That's like the epitome of that era. And it's really not any different now. The respect and appreciation has evolved, fortunately, and the objectification itself has lessened, but it's still really not any different. Sex sells, man. It is a fact, and media containing it is just a part of society. That's just how it is. I am a product of that fact. Proud? Maybe, but I am. But this movie is definitely not the cause of it. The love interest in this movie is solely here for her looks. And if Ice Cube to get a piece on the side while Woodrow took care of Lil O'Shea. She barely even shows up. She has no character. She could be kicked out and literally nothing would change about the plot. You could just change the conflict in Craig's arrival and it'd do perfectly fine without her. Debbie's purpose was also just a romantic interest for Craig in the first movie, but you get this sense that she was this fun girl next door. Friendly with most people, charming and witty, and wasn't afraid to stand up for herself or her family. Here with Carla, the only thing you get from her is that her mom is sick. And she likes niggas. That's really it. Her only role, in probably the most literal sense, is an object, as a reward. She has no personality, she has no memorability, she has no purpose. The character, not the actress. She did her job, she did what she had to do. Hope she got paid well, hope she aspires in life, hope she's doing big things now, you know, all that. Nothing but peace and love.
¿Por qué tomaste tanto tiempo en venir a hablarme?
Mi primo pendejo me tavo.
Like I said, one of the subplots is surrounded around the fact that Day may or may not be a baby daddy, which they don't do anything with. There's this running joke in between it about her sister, Baby D, who all of a sudden wants to get with Craig out of nowhere. They prefaces talking about it like she's like a 9-year-old. At least it seemed like it to me, like she was like a 9-year-old girl or something. But then she shows up and she's like this grown woman. For some reason, Uncle Elroy and Aunt Sugar had a room set up like a BDSM fever dream. Like it's not even in a basement or anything. It's in a room. Like how uncultured. And they apparently are doing the deed majority of their time, like existing. And the hot tub is exclusively for it.
So y'all don't ever use it?
Never. But the jacuzzi, that's something else. Cause me and my sugar get real nasty in there.
And it makes you think, right? Like, was this what him and his other wife were into, like, on the daily? Or was this man's sexual desires either awoken or forced onto him by this lady who was an absolute freak? Because those movies that they have projected in that whole room implies a few things. 1, she's been on a streak of this with multiple men. 2, she just has those on hand. 3, she used to be a porn star. That's the one I'm leaning towards. 4, they just have those recorded to be on while they do the deed, which... why do couples do that in the first place? I've heard of it, and I don't get it. 5, Elroy has these to jerk off to, and nothing stands out too much with these 3. I just find this entire scene weird. Like, none of them do anything.
Hey, what's going on?
Your brothers got AKs in their hands, 2 strangers caught up in their house, and then, like, 3 half-naked females, and you just gonna pull up with the... oh, hey, Michelle. Oh yeah, and Aunt Sugar's thick as fuck!
Warning, when having sexual intercourse with a female like Cheryl, you must use Jimmy Hat condom.
Wear called Jimmy hats, have you ever seen?
You trying to hide your face with the bandana? Man, shut the fuck up, man. Man, is it in yet? I'm trying to get the condom on and you just keep talking. Hurry up, come on. I don't even know why we need this shit. Like, you're not gonna get pregnant. Yeah, I don't understand your thought process there at all. You can never be too safe, man. Damn. Yeah, that's kinda... yeah. Everybody just want to go home. Ice Cube needed a paycheck. Steve Carr just needed a project to fill up his filmography. Everybody else probably just needed a job. Ice Cube never seems like he wants to be there. He's not a bad actor. He's just very dependent on the director and the type of role that he's given. The Glass Shield is one of those roles he's pretty good in. The First Friday, he admittedly does play himself a little bit, but also I can see Craig. He played him off naturally. But here I just see Ice Cube. He's just here to say his lines. His face and energy is always screaming, I don't want to be here. Which is weird because he's like the biggest influence to this movie. Whenever he narrates, he just sounds like he's half asleep.
I didn't want to leave my neighborhood at all, especially my homeboy Smokey. But he went to rehab last month. And the way he smoke, ain't no telling when he getting out.
And he's bringing me to bed with him. I don't know how I feel about sleeping with Ice Cube. I feel like he'd be really rough, you know? I want to walk. And the rest of the movie kind of follows suit as well. Everything about it just looks so bland looking and standard. The original tried to be creative with attaching the camera to different things like wheels on cars and bikes, and the limited setups create for a sort of free-flowing nature, adding to the laid-back nature of the movie. Limited blocking there kind of made sense. But here, people just kind of stand around. I don't like the production design either. Everything feels too bright. Well, Mike, do you want it to be like a David Fincher movie or a fucking Zack Snyder movie? Nah, I just feel like the saturated and overexposed palette just doesn't fit. The warmer colors and grain fit the tone of the first film, but this movie takes a full 180, while the whole thing is void of anything stylistically. It's just put the camera in this room, and then we'll film a scene, and then we go to the next one, and then, yeah, everything in general about it is just so uninspired. If nobody cared, then why'd they feel the need to make this movie? Nothing in the original really needed expansion. That's a good-ass question. After Colors came out, and with him starring in Boys in the Hood, Ice Cube felt that said films didn't really portray the hood right. Felt like they were overly gritty and dark. Quote, people thought how we... Wait, I should do it in an Ice Cube impression. People thought how we grew up was like growing up in a war zone. After movies like Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, and South Central came out, everybody thought the way we grew up was the worst thing ever in life. I didn't see it that way. Of course it was rough, but we had fun with everything. We tried to laugh at the things most people would cry at. We had fun in the hood. We used to trip off the neighborhood, unquote. So he took it in his own hands to break that perception. The film showed that even if there were a lot of bad things in whatever hood you're from, there's still a semblance of heart from everybody. And I think that's what Next Friday is missing. Heart. Hey, quick question. Why is the entire neighborhood absolutely empty? There's apparently only 3 houses with residents in them. On the poster, there's the tagline, "The suburbs make the hood look good," implying that it's crazy out there. But where's the rest of the fucking suburbs? Where the fuck the burbs at? If the script was stronger, then the plot of Craig moving there could have been a way to integrate commentary of racial profiling or blind spotting into the film. Have the majority of the cul-de-sac population be white and let there be this unnecessary looming cloud of fear fall over them because of this regular dude from the hood, even though his family is way crazier. A bit of standard subject matter amongst the black comedy, yeah, but like that's what you got writers for, to make it interesting and comedic. Plus, it wouldn't be too out of pocket from the messages Ice Cube has always been spreading in his music. I'm not saying every dumb comedy has to have a message, and for this film it's not necessary for it to have one like the first film, but at least make something of it. The first one's message near the end of the movie honestly isn't really that much of a message of the overall film at all, but at least it's a thing I think people can relate to and or take away from.
This is what makes you a man. When I was growing up, this was all the protection we needed. You win some, you lose some, but you live to fight another day.
It's a conversation I've had with myself, and it could be applied to a lot of people. It's annoying that I keep comparing it to the first one, but I can't help but do so because it feels so out of left field from what the first one was. This film doesn't know what it wants to do with itself. It's simply a product of its time, only made to follow trends and to make money. And it's upsetting that it's attached to a cult classic. Damn, forgot to do something. Fuck was it? Talked about it having bad writing, not being funny, unnecessarily horny like me, overall laziness. Did I say fuck you, Ice Cube? Nah. Thank goodness, well that came after my ass for that one. Damn. Fuck I forget to do. There's a third one. Oh yeah! It ain't over, motherfuckers.
Goddamn, I'm glad y'all set it off.
I'm honestly just trying to get this over with now. Here's something I didn't expect. This movie's better. Cube, I feel like I was a little harsh on you the last movie. Like I was trying too hard to point the finger at the biggest name. Like I said with Steve, I want to give credit, so I want to give you the credit you deserve here. Hope you can forgive me, Cube. Love you. It's not that much credit though. There's only so much you can do with the grounded premise, and that was proven with the last one being so boring. But I guess that was just Ice Cube's off day. Weak, wild, I don't know. I don't want to discredit the man as I'm giving him his due. He already gave me mine, you know. I'm still getting used to walking on him. Hold on, I'm bleeding again. The second felt like even with the added spice, it still tasted flat. He didn't leave it in the oven long enough. This one feels like he put it in a bit longer. Burnt the crust a bit, yeah, but it's still edible. But then it's like, it's not even Chinese food. It's school lunch. But there's some items in the school lunch that stand out. If not the main thing they got that day, then it's the size. If not that, you can spend a little bit on a snack. All you really need is food analogies to criticize movies. Little Bites, I actually feel like I'm watching a movie this time, with like a plot and pacing and direction. This one was directed by Marcus Rapport, who worked with Cube on his You Know How We Do a music video. And if you really want to get buck fucking wild, his Wicked video. You bitch! You fell for stoner comedy traps. Cube gives them stuff to play with. He gives them Christmas. He builds character a bit. He gives some framework. But it all falls under the stoner movie criterion. It's like the second one was made to be bearable this time. I noticed around this one how these movies are in retrospect just big single scenes. Like how I said the last one goes along but just moving things from room to room. The first one and this one is just that but with actual structure. And at the same time proved to me that they should have just stuck with the first one. It's a result of pseudo-passive characters and playing it safe. Stakes and story don't necessarily rise, they just kind of progress. And this, take what I said about rapid comedies earlier and just apply it to stoner comedies. I'm hesitant on even specifically targeting this era. How High 2 was pretty bad. None of them take themselves too seriously and they have simplistic elements to wrap up. This movie has to be a stoner comedy. It doesn't have to be, but it has to be. With that, certain things held this film down for me. That's not the only fault. This movie makes choices itself that don't entirely fit either. Alright, elaboration. It falls too easily to trivial things like bigotry. While this could entirely be relatable, old dirty claws and all, I still feel like these caricatures are just a bit distracting. Mike's a bitch. Mike's a fucking soy boy bitch at least who doesn't like fun. Such a bitch ass. While not focused on entirely, there's still very distracting elements. While not in-your-face offensive, they're used like a crutch with some characters. Molly, the bakery owner, is just a stereotype really. Any ethnic characters in this genre get that boot. This series inspires something I noticed that I wish to call the big nigga quota.
A big nigga's gotta eat.
First movie obviously had Debo, but it also had Michael Clark Duncan. Rest in peace, he only shows up for like 0.2 seconds, but he's still there. So that's two big niggas. Second one didn't have a big nigga, so they just shoved Debo in again. Then this film introduces Terry Crews as Damon, the gay ex-con, who is solely that, and in context is a really bad choice, considering his actions.
You got a lot of balls.
Another fetish that, not it, but Cat Williams has is playing pimps. I mean, it's probably not off. It's sort of an exaggerated version of the maker's reality. Yeah, I guess. And another thing, John Snow Utensil and Anna Marie Horsford? I never knew how to pronounce her name. They're always like the same couple in everything they're in. This series, Wayne's Bros, Anna was the mom in the Meth and Red show. Wait. Hold on a minute. I kind of canonically see that failure of a show was a sequel to How High, but it's weird because in How High she plays Redman's mom, but then in Meth and Red she's Meth's mom, and I find it weird that they didn't just decide to go with the choice. You're just saying that actors are in things now. Yeah, you got me with that one. And then Donna is just another here for her looks. That's another thing. The objectification is like amped up on 10 in this one. Like it's very blatant here. On one hand, I'd be like, stereotypes are bad, should never be used. But then again, stereotypes have some truth behind them, like a lot of humor. But it doesn't really do anything funny with them. Damon could have been a mama's boy. Damon could have been a flaming mama's boy. He could be like, y'all threw this stupid ass party just to fill up the third act without paying mom's rent. It's a big nigga circle. All big bullies to Craig. I'd like to be in a big nigga circle. Donna, they talk about her doing things to provide for her family. She can easily be here doing the thing, check the dogs flipping shit over her and call them out on their bullshit for even attempting to waste her time. Don't treat the romance so romantic here. Being honest about hookups would probably be funnier. Gives them stuff to play with. Craig and Dede almost have a little dynamic beyond the main character and the stupid one. They can't stand each other a lot of the time, but still can't help but look out for each other like a real family relationship. It feels like the intent is to portray their relationship as if their view of the workplace / priorities are misconstrued in the other's mind. Builds character a bit. Feels like under here is an underdeveloped / planted seed, pertaining to both the priorities and underdeveloped seed. I think all that is where my point with the era comes up again. It sucks that it lacks in the writing department because it decides to try different things visually. Try. It's not just tripod, follow actor. They mix it up a little bit. For some reason, I want to connect the silly nature of the movie to the way it's shot. There's more variety in framing, close-ups, hands-on stuff, shaky cam every time there's conflict, along with the same music. On the other hand, it feels like they have way too much coverage, in which the editing feels the need to compensate. They speed up shots at times, which really feels out of place, and the writing comes full circle with all this because this movie does not know how to transition from scene to scene. It's like the last one had narcolepsy, and then this one has ADHD. I want to describe this movie as very animated. It's weird. The whole thing is like a really big example of 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Come on, Brad. Honestly, after I was finished with it, I was kind of disappointed. I'm not at all saying it's a masterpiece that's held back by some big problems. Hell no. It's mid as fuck. My point is that it has a bit of its own personality back, and that's good to see. But it still just resorts to a checklist required by this genre in this era, just depending on being loud and in your face. It's completely exempt of that heart element at this point with the series. You ain't humble no more, Cube. You think you fresh with all this money and these girls? Thought you wasn't the one. You girls will learn.
I actually haven't been able to write since John Witherspoon passed. It's just been, very difficult to even pick up that project because I've been trying to get it made for, over 10 years now, with 2 scripts and a bunch of dumb notes that in the end really, wouldn't have made too much of a difference. So, I'm just a little frustrated with the process. I would hope New Line would do the right thing and get a movie back so we can go make it for real. And but that's for another day. We still fighting a good fight. There's a movie to be made. We'll figure it out one day.
Today I didn't even have to use my AK. I gotta say it was a good day. Hey, wait a minute, Pooh. Stop this shit. What the fuck I'm thinking about?